So, think of your perception like how you experience reality every single day. Think of it like the lens of a camera.
Right, yeah, like a camera lens.
Yeah. Depending on how you angle that lens, the reality you capture just completely changes. Like if you point it down into the dark, it might reveal horrors you can literally never unsee.
Oh, absolutely.
Or, if the world around you gets way too chaotic, you might aggressively zoom that lens all the way in. Just shrink your field of view down to a tiny, manageable fragment just to save yourself from completely drowning
Needs
it.
to survive it,
Exactly. Or, and this is the interesting part, under the right circumstances, that lens might just mercifully blur out the painful high-definition details of your past, like protecting you from what you just can't handle anymore.
It's a really powerful framework. I mean,
Mm.
what we allow ourselves to see really dictates how we survive.
It really does. Anyway, welcome to Hellcat's King of the Hill podcast. Today we have a really specific mission, custom tailored for you, and this amazing master document you sent over.
Yeah, we are diving deep into the top 3 winning tracks from the latest AI music community competition.
And man, reading through your notes, the level of artistry we are seeing in this generation of creators, it's just staggering.
It really is. We need to approach this whole AI generation process with deep reverence, honestly, because, these artists, they aren't just rolling dice or clicking randomize.
Right, they're not just getting lucky.
Exactly. They are constructing these really intricate auditory worlds. They're essentially programming emotion.
Yeah, the level of intention behind the prompt engineering is it's breathtaking. This competition basically proves that AI isn't replacing human intent, right? It's serving as this profoundly complex new instrument.
An instrument to express the human condition.
Beautifully said. And the overarching theme tying your top 3 winners together makes that incredibly clear. The theme driving this whole competition was, quote, the architecture of perception, black mirrors, singular windows, and the mercy of forgetting.
That is such a heavy, deeply philosophical concept.
It really is, which is why we wanted to unpack that camera lens idea for you right off the bat. The artists are basically manipulating the listener's perspective to navigate all these different psychological landscapes.
We're looking outward, we're looking inward, yeah.
Yeah, and we're examining how our perception is really just like a mental scaffolding we build to keep ourselves functioning.
And that scaffolding is going to be tested in 3 very distinct ways today. I mean, we're going to see perception weaponized, perception restricted, and then finally dissolved entirely.
So here is the roadmap for how we're going to explore this with you today. We are counting down in reverse order. So starting at the 3rd place winner, moving into the 2nd place track, and then spending a good chunk of time breaking down our undisputed, flawless scoring King of the Hill.
Let's get right into it. Where are we pointing the camera first?
Oh, we are pointing it straight down into a terrifying supernatural abyss.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Our 3rd place track is The Midnight Abyss by the artist Darth Lobster, coming in with a massive score of 71.8 out of 100.
Okay, so Darth Lobster did something so fascinating here from a purely technical standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the style prompts they fed into the AI engine, they utilize some incredibly aggressive, abrasive genres. Like, they explicitly prompted for drift funk, hardcore funk, and groove metal.
Okay, wait. I have to admit I'm a little confused here because I know those genres. Funk, especially hardcore funk and groove metal, those are violently loud.
Oh, yeah, completely chaotic.
Great. They rely on this chaotic, driving, distorted bass and just super aggressive percussion. But the narrative Darth Lobster crafted for this track is about a dead calm, like a completely silent, windless ocean where the ship is stranded.
Exactly.
So how does an artist prompt a neural network for deafening, aggressive music to tell a story about absolute frozen silence? I mean, I would think the AI would just output this wall of noise that completely ruins the atmosphere.
See, that contrast right there is the genius of the piece.
Yeah.
That is exactly why they secured 3rd place. You really have to understand how the AI maps these concepts in its latent space.
Okay, how so?
Well, when Darth Lobster prompted for those heavy genres alongside the narrative of a dead calm, the AI had to find a mathematical intersection between driving bass frequencies and atmospheric tension.
Oh, wow.
Right. The artist forced the engine to use those heavy, thick elements of funk, not as the literal sound of the wind or the waves in the story, but as the psychological gravity of the scene.
The gravity. Okay, so the bass isn't a physical sound in the world of the song. It's a physical feeling in the listener's chest.
Precisely. In the narrative, the ocean is dead quiet. The wood of the ship stops creaking, the sails just go completely limp. But that inescapable distorted low end, that represents the internal dread.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
It's the psychological pull of the black mirror scaring back up at the stranded sailors. Just think about the feeling of looking over a terrifying ledge.
Oh, I hate that feeling, the call of the void.
Exactly. There is this magnetic, almost aggressive pull urging you to jump. Darth Lobster used groove metal to synthesize the sound of their sanity, literally breaking.
That is just brilliant prompt engineering.
Yeah.
And the lyrics anchor that dread so perfectly. There's this line from the intro that sets the boundary of this mental framework. It goes, "The worst thing is the no wind, the dead calm, when the sea turns into a black mirror at midnight."
Such a visceral image.
Right. And then the narrative hits you with the consequence of looking into it. They wrote, "And you look down over the rail and your reflection starts moving on its own."
It's just sheer terror.
Yeah.
I mean, they captured the exact moment when perception turns against the observer. The scaffolding just collapses.
And the imagery gets even more disorienting. In the hook, Darth Lobster writes, "Look into the glass, see the sky upside down, the stars are below where the sailors drown. It completely inverts the world. The ocean ceases to be a body of water and becomes a throat."
Yeah, there's actually a lyric in the first verse that explicitly calls it a silent throat, with no bottom or floor.
Oh, wow. That's haunting.
It is. And if we tie this back to the broader architecture of perception, the structure here is basically a trap. The sailors look into this abyssal reflection, and the mirror doesn't demand anything of them. It just shows them deeply personal, impossible things.
Like what?
Well, the mate sees his wife trapped under the ice. The cook sees this sprawling city made of silver and bone.
Oh, so they see what they can't unsee, and the only escape is to just surrender to it.
Yeah, they just step over the timber right into the dark.
Wow. And then that lyric, no splashing sound, no cries in the night, just the surface closing perfectly tight, it just swallows them whole.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Darth Lobster used the AI to build this environment of just overwhelming dread, proving that if you open your aperture too wide into the dark, well, the dark consumes you.
Which actually creates a perfect causal link to our second place winner. Because if staring into the wide open expanse of that abyss is lethal to your sanity, you have to develop a completely different survival strategy.
You have to drastically shrink your view.
Exactly. If the panoramic wide-angle lens is going to get you killed, the only way to survive the chaos of perception is to forcefully restrict what you allow yourself to process.
Right.
Which brings us to our second place track, Single Pane Sanity by Trippy, scoring a 75.3 out of 100.
Trippy took a radically different approach to their prompt engineering here. They totally pivoted away from that aggressive gravity of Phonk, and they opted for psychedelic art pop and psychedelic rap rock.
Oh, very different vibe.
Very different. And they anchored the whole thing with this highly specific off-kilter mid-tempo groove.
When I try to apply this track to the modern world, my mind immediately goes to internet culture.
Oh, totally.
Right. Because life today feels like sitting at a computer with like 100 tabs open on your web browser simultaneously. You've got the news cycle, your overflowing inbox, social media feeds, existential climate anxiety, your group chat, all playing video and audio at the exact same time until your brain's processing power just crashes.
It's exhausting.
It is. And Trippy solution is to forcefully close 99 of those tabs. They retreat to a solitary, singular window to just observe reality safely.
The 100 open tabs is such a great way to visualize it. This track really operates as a focused manifesto on mental preservation. Trippy used the AI engine as a precision scalpel here.
Oh, so?
Well, by prompting for that off-kilter mid-tempo groove, they instructed the AI to generate a feeling of a chaotic, melting reality in the peripheral audio. So like the beat stumbles, the synth warp and bend around you.
The world falling apart.
Exactly.
Mm.
But the vocal delivery and the lyrical phrasing, they are completely grounded and locked in. They find peace in a tiny, focused fragment of the whole.
Okay, but I want to challenge that philosophy for just a second.
Sure.
Is that actually a healthy framework for perception? Or is closing 99 tabs just, a form of willful ignorance? Like, if the world is melting down, doesn't restricting your aperture just mean you're refusing to look at the problems?
It's a totally fair critique, but I would argue that Trippy prompts anticipate that exact counterargument.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The song doesn't advocate for blindness, it advocates for scale. Like I said, the chaotic synths are still audible in the mix. The artist acknowledges the overarching chaos, but they realize that a human being cannot process the entirety of the macro collapse all at once. The human brain just isn't built for a planetary scale aperture.
That makes the lyrical choices stand out even more. There is a section here that serves as a direct rebuttal to the idea that we always need to be aware of everything.
Oh, the present tense line.
Yes.
Huh.
They write, keep the aperture restricted so the picture stays immense. Fuck the overwhelming vistas. I prefer the present tense.
It's so good.
It completely flips the common wisdom on its head. We are always told to look at the big picture to broaden our horizons. But Trippy Trek argues the big picture is actually what makes us dizzy.
Yeah, they explicitly reject the panoramic view. They even mention that too many angles tangle up the brain, driving everybody perfectly insane. And notice how they borrow your camera lens vocabulary there.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Tightening the aperture is a physical mechanic in photography. When you restrict the light coming in, you actually increase the depth of field. The subject stays in sharper focus.
So by limiting the data, you increase the clarity of what remains.
Yes, exactly. Trippy Trek is curating reality, not hiding from it. Just consider the imagery they use in the second verse. They say, I'm observing how the spiders spin a web across the glass, while the masses lose their asses moving infinitely fast.
Oh, I love that contrast.
Right. By restricting their view to a single pane of glass, they actually notice the intricate details that everyone moving at a macro scale completely misses. They see the architecture of the spider web.
Which leads to this incredible distillation of the whole theme. They write, every droplet on the pane is a universe of soul. I don't need a massive mansion when a fragment is the whole. You just don't need to process the entire hemisphere to find meaning.
No, you really don't.
A single crystallized sector contains just as much depth if you actually give it your full attention.
It's a brilliant use of the AI toolset. Trippy Trek didn't ask the neural network to generate a sprawling, chaotic epic about societal collapse. They asked it to engineer a tightly constrained, elevated vantage point. A solitary sill, as they call it.
Yeah.
The resulting track just acts as this sonic prescription for the madness of the mob. It is a beautifully narrowed, hyper-focused frame.
Okay, so we've looked outward at the terrifying reflection in the black mirror, right? And we've learned to hide behind the solitary window to manage the chaos of the outside world. But what happens when the perception we're dealing with isn't the outside world at all? What happens when the architecture we are navigating is the labyrinth of our own internal memory?
And that question brings us across the threshold to our first place winner.
The King of the Hill. Taking home a flawless, indisputable 100 out of 100 score, this is Every Road Leads Somewhere by Studio M519.
I just have to spend a moment analyzing the technical achievement here, because Studio M519 delivered a true masterclass in atmospheric prompt engineering. Like, truly.
I mean, to get a perfect score, their prompts must have been incredibly specific. How did they direct the AI to achieve this?
Well, they provided the AI with a meticulous blueprint for late 1960s analog production. They didn't just type in rock song or blues track.
Right.
No, they specifically demanded tape saturation, authentic spring reverb, expressive guitar vibrato, and this swirling Hammond organ. They went so far as to prompt for minimal compression and authentic late 60s studio room character.
Wow, they practically built the physical acoustics of a 1969 recording studio for the AI to simulate.
They really did.
But why does that matter so much? Why demand an advanced neural network pretend it's a piece of degrading magnetic tape? It feels like more than just an aesthetic choice to sound retro, you know?
Oh, it is so much more than an aesthetic.
Yeah.
See, when you prompt an AI for tape saturation, the neural network isn't just slapping a cheap EQ filter over a clean track. It is mathematically mapping the harmonic distortion and the physical imperfections of vintage gear into the compositional structure itself.
Wait, really? It affects the actual composition?
Yes. The AI generates the guitar notes differently because it knows they are going to be recorded onto degrading tape. It forces a looser, more deliberate performance from the simulated instruments.
Oh, man. And that inherent physical degradation of the analog tape perfectly mirrors the thematic degradation of memory. The medium becomes the message. Tape fades, it warps, it loses its high frequencies over time, just like human memory.
Exactly. The physical decay of the audio perfectly supports the psychological decay in the narrative. Because the Story Studio M519 weaves here, handles the profound concept of trauma and memory with a gentleness that you just rarely see in this medium.
It really is a radical departure from how society usually frames forgetting. We are so conditioned to view memory loss as a tragedy.
Oh, always.
The assumption is always that our memories constitute our identity, right? And if you forget your past, you lose a piece of who you are. But this track takes that assumption and completely dismantles it. It treats the fading of a traumatic memory not as a loss of self, but as this profound act of grace.
It explores the mercy of forgetting. Let's look at the narrative structure they built for a second. The protagonist is in this unfamiliar town, in an unfamiliar room, and they see a face appear in the window, a woman with thorns woven through her dark hair.
And the lyrics describe her so vividly. They write like she'd never left the garden, standing by the open door.
Yeah. This woman is the phantom of a specific memory. The pre-chorus establishes the tension of carrying that phantom. It says, some memories fade like summer rain, some keep finding you.
Oof.
This phantom just keeps finding the narrator. But unlike the Black Mirror from our third place track, this interaction isn't rooted in terror. It's rooted in a quiet, inevitable release.
The interaction in the second verse just reads like poetry. The narrator asks if she had crossed the river, and she just watches the candlelight sway before delivering this unbelievable line. She says, some gardens grow forever, some are carried every day. Right. It acknowledges the exhausting weight of carrying a painful past with you wherever you go, but it's the bridge of this song that really serves as the emotional climax of our entire deep dive today.
Yeah, the narrative shifts in the bridge. The phantom of the memory turns to the narrator and asks a very simple question. Do you remember why you left?
And the narrator responds, I searched every corner of my mind, found only an empty place.
Gives me chills.
He has finally lost the specifics of the trauma. The jagged edges of whatever drove him away have finally eroded. And how does the phantom respond to that emptiness?
She said, that's mercy.
That's mercy. It is an incredibly powerful realization.
And Studio M519 perfectly aligned the sonic architecture with that thematic realization. During that exchange, the Hammond organ and the espresso blues guitar are just trading these soulful, spacious, melodic phrases.
Yeah, it breathes so well.
They create this hypnotic, open auditory space where the listener feels safe enough to finally let go of their own tension. Connecting this back to the overarching theme, the architecture of perception. This final track suggests that the ultimate framework isn't about what we see out the window or what terrifies us in the mirror. It's about what we are finally allowed to unsee.
What we are allowed to unsee, the mental scaffolding dissolving because it's just no longer necessary to hold up the weight of the past.
The fading of the memory is the building itself coming down. It's a heavy, smoky blues track, sure, but it cradles a very delicate truth. The mind's ability to create an empty place where pain used to live might be the greatest mercy a human being can experience.
And the outro of the track executes that concept flawlessly. A lone raven lands without calling. The swirling Hammond organ sustains a final chord, and the entire mix just slowly dissolves into that warm tape hiss and spring reverb.
It doesn't end abruptly at all.
No, it simply degrades into static, just like a fading memory. A well-deserved 100 out of 100. Studio M519, who uses they/them pronouns, by the way, absolutely mastered the latent space in this competition.
All three artists achieved something remarkable, honestly. Darth, Lobster, Trippy Trek, and Studio M519 completely pushed the boundaries of what this AI engine can communicate about the architecture of the human mind.
It has been such an incredible journey reviewing these tracks for you today. I mean, we started by pointing our lens down into the terrifying depth of the Black Mirror, where our own perception turns against us and threatens to pull us into the midnight abyss.
Yeah.
Then we countered that overwhelming panoramic view by shrinking our aperture, right? Retreating to the sanity of a singular crystallized window just to preserve our focus. And finally, we turned the lens inward, walking through the fading gardens of our own minds to find the warm, analog mercy of forgetting.
It raises such fascinating questions about how much agency we actually possess over our own mental frameworks. I would really encourage you, the listener, to consider how you curate your own perception of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Are you leaving 100 tabs open and wondering why the system is crashing? Are you staring into the dark until the dark starts staring back?
It really is the ultimate question of how we choose to live. And, it leaves me with one final lingering thought for you to explore on your own.
What's that?
Well, if our perception, whether we are staring out at the chaotic world or looking back into the deepest corners of our own memory, if all of that is just an architectural structure we build to survive our environment, what do you think happens when we finally step outside that building entirely?
Wow. A provocative space to leave the lens focused on.
Thank you for listening to Hellcat's King of the Hill podcast. Make sure to check the description to hear the full tracks and join the server if you want to play in King of the Hill.